Hi guys, welcome back to another interesting video on how to cut an armhole princess dart. So I'll be using a pattern paper to make this tutorial. I've already gone ahead to draft out my basic bodies. I'll be leaving a link around this video in case you don't know how to do that. So here, this is my shoulder line, which is going to be my starting point. I have already slanted my shoulder down by half inch. So we are not going to be making use of this place. I'm marking X. So I have three horizontal lines below the armhole line. The first line is my chest line, and I'm going to just mark that chest line. The second line is my nipple point, so I'll just tag it as NP. And the third line from the shoulder down to the third line is my half length, my under bust, sorry. And then, of course, the last line is my half length, which also will serve as the end of my top. So from the beginning of the shoulder down to the chest line, of course, you already know that line is your armhole line, which you're going to give your curve. So I'm taking the midpoint of that armhole line, and on that midpoint, mine is 4 inches. I'm going to be coming in by half an inch. This inner curve is only for your front piece. Now I'll be taking my neckline. I'm using 3.5 inches for the wide, and then the depth is going to be, I'll be using 3.5 as well. You can use your discretion here. You can make it 4, you can make it 5, depending on what you want. So I'll just use my French curve to curve it up together. So the next thing is to get my measurement for my chest line, which is my bust. I'll be using my bust measurement to get this measurement now. Mine is 8 inches, so I'm adding 1.5 as seam allowance to it. This is going to enable me get my curve before we draft out our darts. Guys, you can use your free hands to do this. If you don't have a French curve, you can also use a free hands to make this drafting. So guys, the next thing I want to do is to get my dart measurements, which is my princess dart, and I'll be making use of my nipple to nipple measurements. Nipple to nipple measurements, you take, divide it by 2. Mine is 3.5 and I'm adding half inch to it, which I'm marking 4 inches. So that 4 inches, you take it all the way to your nipple points. Rule a straight line to connect this 4 inches together. Now on the under bust line, you're going to be going towards the outer part by 1.5 inches, and then you'll be coming towards the middle piece by half an inch. You'll do the same thing for the half length. Just watch what I'm doing and you understand where I marked 1.5 and where I marked half an inch. Towards the outer part you mark 1.5, and towards the middle part you mark half an inch. So you connect all these lines to meet with your nipple points. Now at the armhole curve, you're going to get the midpoint, like I said earlier. From that midpoint, you're going to be going up by 1 inch and coming down by another 1 inch. So you have 3 dots there. These 3 lines, you're going to connect each of them to meet with your nipple points line. Connect the 3 lines from your armhole to meet with your nipple points. You see this part I'm marking X, this is going to be eliminated. We are not going to be using it. So I'll just mark it bad, and also asterisk this other side. All these parts are going to be going off. So guys, the next thing, you come to your armhole. You see these 2 inches that we're going to be removing. These 2 inches we're going to be removing. I'm going to be replacing it on the third line. So I'll extend that third line by 2 inches because I'll be replacing it back. So this new line will be connected all the way to your bust measurements. So I'll just use my free hands to connect it together, meaning that we're not going to be making use of this other line. Alright guys, the next thing to do is to start imputing your body measurements. I'm going to be repeating my bust measurements on my nipple point line. Whatever your measurement is, add about 1.5 inches allowance to it and mark it right there. Come down to your under bust, take your measurements, add allowance to it, and also make sure you replace these darts. You can see me measuring the dart. I have about 2 inches on that dart. So you're going to make sure to replace your darts at every point. Come down to your half length and do the same thing. And then I'll just go ahead and connect together and cut it out. So I initially forgot to curve my nipple points, so I'm just going ahead to do that right away. Use your free hand to just give your nipple points a curve. It's not supposed to have this sharp edge, it's supposed to be curvy. So while you're cutting it, make sure you give it that curve shape, and then you go ahead and cut every other part accordingly. So, guys, one mistake people make when cutting a princess dart is not adding extra half inch to your front piece. Guys, when you're cutting a princess dart, please make sure you add an extra half inch to your front piece. Now, see what I mean? Meaning that your back is supposed to be shorter than your front. As you can see, I have extra half inch at my front piece. Make your front piece to be half inch longer than your back. I'll show you the reason much later why we are joining this piece together. So, but first, let's go ahead and draft our back. So I'll just use this front as my measurement to get the length of my back, making it shorter, just half inch shorter than my front piece. So I'll remove that, and then I'll go ahead and take my zipper allowance. So you just rule the line. Your zipper allowance should be around 1.5 inches. You can use 1 inch, you can use 1.5. And then I'll repeat my shoulder for the front. The same shoulder measurements I used for the front, I'm using the same thing for my back. I'm also using the same neckline of 3.5, but then the back neckline, the depth is going to be 1 inch because I want it to be a high neck. So I'm dropping my shoulder slope by half inch, and I'll just connect the line down together. So that's going to serve as my bust line or my chest line. So the next thing I'm going to do, from the shoulder, I'll be taking my under bust measurement, which is 13 inches. So I'll rule that line together, and then also rule my bust line. So I'll just label this as my zipper allowance. I'll label this first line as my chest line, and then the next line as my under bust line, and then the last is also my half length, which is also the length of my top. So go ahead and take your measurements accordingly. Your bust measurements divided by 4 plus seam allowance, under bust measurements divided by 4 plus seam allowance, and then your half length measurements divided by 4 plus seam allowance, which is almost the same thing as your under bust. Next thing is to repeat your dart measurements. I told you it's 3.5, but I'll be using 4 inches. I'll do the same thing on my under bust, and I'll just draw a straight line to connect these darts together. And on both sides, I'll be coming in and out by half an inch, half on this side, half on the other side. This will be my darts for the back. I'll connect it to meet at the top points of my under bust. And then go ahead and give your armhole curve. You can make use of your free hands, you can make use of your French curve. Then you connect your measurements together. Alright guys, I'm supposed to end my tutorial here, but for the sake of beginners, I'll be showing you a pattern illustration on how you're going to join it. So you're going to be padding it. Let's assume you are using your material. This is a pattern paper, so we are not going to be padding it. So when you want to add your pad, make sure that you are following this pattern that I'm using right now. You're going to be stopping your padding at the under bust. You can see the mark I gave at that pattern paper. So on this middle part, you're going to be covering all around your bust area, and your padding should end under your bust region, under your bust line. And then when you are joining it, front facing front, okay, front facing front, and make sure it is equal. You're starting from the down, you don't start from the up to so. Make sure you start from the down, and then you join it all around this line, just like I'm doing right now. So just watch how I am going to be joining this pattern together. So make sure you connect from the very down and make sure it is equal. So at each point, you want to stop and then arrange your pattern. You want to arrange it, especially when you get to the nipple points. You can see the line of the nipple points. Make sure they are together. Make sure the middle and the side are aligning together. And as you sew, you stop, arrange your pattern, and continue sewing. So guys, as you can see, both edges are equal and they are meeting each other. So that was because we left that 2 inch, we added 2 inches to that armhole we did at the initial time when we were drafting the front piece. So if you don't do that, you are going to end up having one part longer and one part shorter. So just go ahead and watch how I am joining this piece together. For the back piece, since we are not using any zipper allowance, this is not a material, I have just closed it. I have gone ahead to sew it together, and then the next thing is to fix my darts. Remember, I notched the darts so that you'll be able to know where you are closing up. So I'll just fold it into two and I'll use 1/2 inch and join my darts. So instead of using my underbust measurement, I decided to go a little bit upward. So I'll be using 6.5 to join my darts. Alright guys, my front and my back, they are all ready for close-up. Now, the only reason why I am having a little space at the down, it is not exactly equal, is because we did not pad this paper. Now, the reason why I said when you're sewing, when you're cutting your princess darts, make sure your front is longer than your back. Reason being that when you have padded up, you have added your breast pad or your wadding, your soft wadding, and you sew it, there's every tendency that this nipple point is going to push up. Yes, this nipple point is definitely going to push up because of the padding that you have done. So because we did not pad this paper, that is why you are still seeing a little space at this down part. So we're going to close the side using your exact measurements, close up the shoulder, and then I'll bring it and show you how it looks like. So this is what we have. Our princess dart is pattern like ready. So this is a pattern paper. You don't expect it to be like a, like a sewn fabric. So when you're trying yours, please make sure you don't make the mistake I mentioned earlier. Try it. Try adding, if you are not used to adding 1/2 inch, try adding 1/2 inch the next time you're cutting, and then thank me later. So thank you guys for watching this video. If you have any question, please you can drop it in the comment section. I'll see you. Bye.